Alright, this week I'm going to try and fix the P-223. So here's a kind of a reference video. I haven't turned this fan on in, I want to say, what, 6 months now? Like literally half a year, if not longer. So I have no idea if this is locked up or if it's even going to run. When I last brought it down to the basement, it was loosened up. But that was only for so long. Oh yeah. Oh. Well, we'll go on low. It's been in the back corner of the fans, so on that like rug area there's like a corner, and this fan's been in the back corner for like 5 months, depends on whatever you organized. And then yeah, I haven't ran this fan in a while. I think I brought it up in March, which is the last time I brought it up, which is, if that's true, that means it was close to like 7 months. I don't know. That thing's struggling to turn on. Well, that's your low speed. Let's go up to medium. Oh, there we go. It kind of wakes up from hibernation. Sort of. Let's run it on high. Oh, okay. Let's look at this beautiful spin down of a whopping 5 seconds. 6? Okay, 7. I'll be generous. Oh. I don't know if I should count that. I'm not going to. 7 seconds spin down, roughly 7 to 8. Good job, P-223. You did a good job. I'm wondering why that happened. Yeah, so this fan needs help, so I'm gonna work on that. Alright, so this is day 1. I didn't plan on making this a video, but I am now. So here's where we are. So I'm in my closet, which you don't ever really see. We have the /M with its stator here. Yeah, I know that's not very secure, but as long as no one touches this, which is why it's in the closet, it should be fine. The bolts have enough friction that'll just hold the stator. I don't need to get too technical, because if I put nuts on there, I don't want the windings coming in contact and damaging them. Here is the P-223 stator. The windings are a lot smaller, but so that's over here. And then on the floor I have a bit of a thing going on now. So here are your rotors. This is the /M. This was cleaned with water, hand washed, dried, and then this one had to be washed twice because some of the oil dried to the metal, and while using the hair dryer it reactivated and it started to get kind of greasy in my hand, so I had to wash it twice, and then now it feels a little bit better. So that is that. So you're probably thinking, what's this here? What's going on? So basically, to get rid of the bad oil, which is, when I say bad, I mean like it will never leave this motor probably. To start, I used the hair dryer. I got all the oil to kind of get hot and start to, reactivate. Then I put Marvel in there, which Marvel is basically like an oil activator type of thing. And it basically will push and shove any oil that's already in here. Even if it's like 3-in-1 or Zoom Spout, it'll still remove it. So I put that in there, washed this plate. Now, I don't know if there's a before and after. I don't think there is, but I cleaned the backside of the /M. Now, if you've seen the /M's motor, you'll know it's always kind of weird looking, kind of gross. I didn't expect this, but it completely came out clean. This was on accident. This is while I was just cleaning it, and this happened. So after I did all that, washed it, hair dried it again, and then yeah, so this is becoming black again, which I expect. I put Marvel in here and then put it over a container, so if anything drips out, it goes in there and not anywhere else. And then again, it's in the closet, so no one knocks it over. I'm gonna do the other parts today as well. I'm going to do this 3 times, I think. The third time, we're not going to do the Marvel thing overnight. I just want it to be, you know, dry. So, basically, I'm doing a water-powered degreasing, but a water-powered degreasing on steroids because I'm going to do this many times, and I'm doing the hairdryer trick and everything. Because when oil gets hot, it tends to get wet again. So if any oil is dry in there, it's kind of weird. You can make the oil wet, almost like you're boiling it off. So I did that first to let any oil kind of come out, and then I added Marvel to really get rid of some of it, and then yeah. So this will sit overnight with Marvel in it, and then tomorrow I'll rinse the motor out, then do the same thing again. So Friday I'm looking to put these together. Today is Tuesday. So yesterday I took the fans apart and got this ready. So this is the front plate to the /M. Notice it's not yellow, but so this is not done yet. It's just there. So I'll have to do that when I'm done eating. And then we have, what is this, the front to the P-223. So there's that. You're probably thinking, how do you know if it's the front and the back? Well, the back one was dirty and had yellowing. This one, the front is just that, and then the rear has a sticker on it. The sticker is going to have to be removed, obviously, before this happens, but I left it on there so I can label these, and then, so this is the rear. It's important to know because, I mean, you want to know what bearing is what. If you mix them, then it's going to be annoying and confusing. So this is where the saw was getting done. So this is, I'm just using the bathroom sink. We have 2 bathrooms up here, so the other bathroom has the hairdryer. So I go in there and do the hairdryer stuff, and then here is the washing stuff, which works so you don't ruin the hairdryer. But also, I'm gonna shut this door because they're watching some stupid British show. So I got the Marvel in here. It's in like a little, I don't know what that is. It comes in a giant jug, so I just put them in this little like bottle so I can, you know, use that instead. These are all the thrust washers complete. I probably thinking, oh no, you're gonna mix all the thrust washer. No, because if you remember, the rotors have different shaft sizes. One's thinner, one's thicker. So there's no way I can get them backwards. So, yeah. So they're running under some Marvel right now, and they're just gonna be like that. I'll rinse them when I'm done eating. I want them to nicely soak and get rid of some of that. Then I'll probably actually run them under the hairdryer and then let the oil get wet again, and then I'll rinse them clean. I didn't really plan on doing much with the thrust washers, but if I need to wash them again, then I guess I will. So, for now, that's day 1. Alright, here is an update on day 1. I wasn't really going to record this, but then I decided to because I got different results for every single plate here. So, this one, I was correct. This is the worst condition one. As you can see, it's still like black in there. This one came out pretty good. It's hard to tell because they all got soaked in Marvel, so it's all going to be a darker color now, but this one was kind of like a orangish color, which is a lot better because it means it's, you know, the lighter the better, right? The less presence of oil. And then over here, this one was a little worse because there's some wicks missing. When I put the Marvel in here in the beginning before I did the hairdryer, it was leaking out of all sorts of places, like the oil part, which is kind of weird. So, I don't know. And then this is the front plate to the /M. Yeah, this one was meh. It came out okay. It was probably about as good as this one. And this is the front plate to the regular P-223. So, I don't really know. Another thing is with these two, the wicks kept there was a bunch of little flakes that would keep coming out of the wicks, and I had to keep like catching them in the water and putting them back in because the wicks kept basically falling apart. So I don't know if I'm going to push these all the way to the end of the week like I was supposed to. I might do a rinse tomorrow and then maybe another rinse Thursday, and probably this is the only time I'm going to do Marvel is right now. So maybe I'll rinse them again tomorrow and then let them overnight just be dry. And then I'll do it again Thursday to really get rid of anything, and then it should be okay. Also, I know I keep saying Marvel and whatever, and you're probably not picturing what that is because I only showed the little bottle. This is what it looks like. This is the full thing. Marvel Mystery Oil. I got this at Ace Hardware. and it was like maybe $8 or $9. And you get the ounces here. I got 32 fluid ounces, which is pretty good. That's like 2 of those peach teas I drink, so that's pretty good. And obviously you need a very, very, very little amount on these motors. By little, I mean like what you saw in that bottle. Like right now it's, I think, 1/3 of the way. So it's just like, I really didn't use a lot. Technically I did 2 motors, which is kind of insane. So yeah, invest in that if you want. It's day 2. So here's where we're at. Yeah, I decided flipping them over was probably more efficient than doing it the other way. So, bit of change of plans. So, the /M's rear plate is still kind of dirty, and there's still a lot of trash in there. It's doing a lot better, and today it obviously helped a lot. So, the /M's motor pieces are probably, I mean, I'm guessing probably Friday, which will be day 4. I can put the /M probably together. However, the P-223 is pretty much done, actually. Like, it's just going to sit like this, and then tomorrow, whenever I have time, I might actually assemble the P-223, and we'll get our first result. Alright, well, it's day 3, and as I predicted, I'm probably going to put this one together. And these screw holes go onto the brace, and it was these little screws that would go in there. The /M has the same exact setup. And yeah, so you need a wrench to take that off, which is annoying. So I went to Ace, mostly to try and replace the bolts, because these bolts, I forgot the name, but there's usually a little square thing here, and that little square would line up with the square here, and that way when you go to tighten a nut on there, it doesn't rotate on the bolt, and then it's less annoying. For some reason, these don't have that little square, so I ran to Ace to see if they had them, and they didn't have any in this size. But what I did end up getting was these little screws, but the Phillips head version. So I don't have to keep getting a wrench to do that, or in my case, pliers. So yeah, there's the Phillips head. Should be the same size. Yep. So that's what's going to hold on to the motor, and that's a lot easier, and it's a little bit longer, so I think that's a little bit more reliable as far as safety, rather than these short, stubby things that are 40 plus years old. So what I'm going to do now is get the stuff I need, like all the hardware. I have 1 bolt and 1 nut. I'm going to need more than that, so. And then let me get all that stuff, and then we'll go from there. Alright, I'm going to do this on camera. I'm going to try to edit this a little bit so that way you don't see every single, turn of the screwdriver. But I want people, because I don't really show this part on camera like ever, because it's kind of boring. But since I never show it, it's kind of like a behind the scenes, so I'm going to just show it. So the first thing I'm going to do, because obviously I can't have the stator like this while I'm doing this, is I need to get this in so it can hold on to the stator properly. So what I'm going to do is put that front plate aside and be like, oh, you need to oil it first. No, that's pretty much the last part. I'm going to pull this bolt out, put it inside the fan. I'm actually going to put the other bolt in there too. I'm actually going to put all the hardware inside of the cabinet, so it's, right there when I need it. Just slide that right on through. Now the orientation does matter, so the wires will line up with this little divot, and then the screw holes, bolt holes need to line up. So I'm going to line up these 2 screw holes here on both sides. So we have that there, should line up with that there. And then I got to line up the motor bolt holes. So we have 1. Doesn't need to be perfect. We can always move the stator if need be. It should be something like that, roughly. So if it looks like it's about right, great, no one cares. Let me get a screw in there. There shouldn't be any, and I know they're a little bit longer, but they shouldn't interfere with the stator at all. I'm going to get the back plate just somewhat screwed in there. Alright, the screws are nice and tight. There, I flip this around, but I can show it. It's like they look pretty good. Alright, so now that we're at this step, I have the back plate all nice and whatever on there, as you saw. I'm going to take the rotor, which is all nice and dry, no whatever. For some reason, usually fans will start with the thrust washer, then the fiber washer, but this one starts with the fiber washer and then the thrust washer. I don't know why this is. And in fact, I think the /M is actually the other way around, where it's this and then this, but whatever. And then I'm gonna copy that on the front. I know, because I remember when I took the motor apart, the thrust washer is stuck to the bearing there from the oil. And I'm like, that's weird, it should be a fiber washer there. I never did anything wrong, that was just the way the motor was. So it should be like this. And I'm just gonna put that rotor in there. Oh, it's not oiled yet. I know. I'm just seeing. Yep. So this should line up kind of flush with the stator, and which it does. In fact, it should stick out a little bit more, which it probably will when it runs. So like right there, that seems pretty good. So in fact, I feel like it actually sticks out a little bit anyway. So it's pretty much perfect. So now that we have that, I'm taking this oil, 3-in-1 blue can. So we're gonna start with this. Okay. I don't want to get too crazy because if I have to take this motor apart and do another rinse or something, I'm gonna waste oil. So I can always add more oil. Just remember that. You can always add more oil. I'm gonna just start with whatever's needed. So I'm gonna start with oil on here. Keep in mind, when I brought this fan upstairs a few days ago, I did not add any oil. The last time that this fan took oil was, I think, 6 months ago, when I tried to do the motor the first time, which was not with water. I just used like a rubbing alcohol wipe on the bearings, and it actually worked for a few days there. It was pretty good, but after running it for a little while there, it didn't seem to last. So now I want to put oil into the wicks. Just gonna do a little bit of whatever in there. I'm gonna put a little bit in the bearing on the front end there. I'm gonna put a little bit more on the rotor because I feel like it ran away. Oil is gonna drip a little bit inside of the motor. It's okay. No one cares. And just like that, your rotor is now seated. I'm gonna move this around a little bit. Oh, it's not spinning perfectly. Well, that's just because it's not 100%. Gotta wait for the oil to reach all the spots first. So I'm gonna do a little bit of rotating. It does feel a little strange because this is, I mean, some heavy motor work was just done. Oh, I'm gonna check that. Sometimes the oil will move around. Oh, okay, thank you. Sometimes the oil will move around so much that it actually, you know, will rub off. And what I mean by that is this is a flush fit between this and the bearing. Sometimes you put oil there, and then when you slide the rotor in there, the oil just kind of gets squished out because it's a, you know, tight fit. So because of that, sometimes I have to take it out, add a little bit more. Well, I don't have to do that with my fan. That's great. Yeah, see? Now it feels a lot looser. So sometimes you gotta just take it out, add a little bit more. I'm gonna do this for a little bit, just to make sure the oil doesn't, you know, run straight down. And just like that, we have something going. Still gonna be that same guy. Oh, you didn't put the front plate on yet. Yeah, well, that's what we're about to do right now. Okay, now I'm gonna do an up close of the oiling of here. Again, I'm just gonna do a little bit of drops up in here, a little bit of drops up in there. You get the point. Remember, this thing is bone dry. It's got nothing. So this motor right now is running on no oil. So yeah, you're gonna have to add a little bit to accommodate for that. I'm gonna rotate this in the correct position. On the back, the oil port is right there, so I need to correspond and do the same. So what I'm gonna do is put oil in there, put oil all up in there, and there you go. Okay, I'm gonna drive that nice and down the shaft. I'm gonna slide this front plate on. Hold on, before I do that. Before I push the plate on 100%, I'm gonna slowly slide this bolt out. And just like that, we should have something going now. I'm gonna fish in whatever. So there's our first bolt. Then I'm gonna fish in the other bolt. If you're gonna, this motor only has 2 bolts, so make sure that they're on the opposite side. Do not try to feed it through here, not through here. It's gotta be the opposite side. Otherwise, they'll become misaligned over time, and then you're gonna ruin your bearings from misalignment and more friction, and you know, you get the point. And just like that, we have the motor kind of put together. Now don't start putting the nuts on there and trying to tighten them. Oh, it's done, let me put the nuts on there and tighten them. No, we're not even anywhere near there yet. So now we got to move on to the next step, which is motor alignment, which can pretty much turn out to be hell if you don't know what you're doing. So I've had this happen on the channel before, and I'm going to show a clip of what happens if you don't align your motor correctly. Oh my. Okay, well that definitely does not sound right. So it's important that your nuts are not too tight and not too loose. So I'm going to do a turn there, and then I'm going to move up to the top bolt and do the next turn there. If you tighten one and not the other, it's going to make the motor crooked like this instead of this, like parallel. It's going to make it not parallel, and you're going to have a bad time. So if you don't want to have a bad time, then do it correctly. So it should feel pretty just kind of snug. It shouldn't feel too tight or too loose. That to me feels pretty good. In fact, I might just give this one a little bit more tightening just to kind of line up the bolts a little bit. And that looks kind of about right to me. This is just a test run. I can always retighten the motor if need be. Okay. Now this is kind of like the weird part, but I have to hit the shaft. This looks and sounds kind of stupid. I'm going to take this alcohol wipe actually. Clean the shaft off. Because I just put the motor together, the shaft needs to align with the bearings. The only way to do that is by hitting the shaft in different directions. And that'll align the shaft with the bearings, which will hopefully give you what is needed. Now that seems pretty loose. As you can see, the rotation there is pretty good. I don't really have a comparison, but it feels pretty easy to move. And yeah. So it was just a test run. I'm gonna plug in this fan and we're gonna test it. I'm actually kind of nervous right now because I spent a lot of time on this motor and I really hope I fix it. That seems pretty good. That seems pretty reasonable. Shaft weight's kind of heavy though, but that just might be because the oil is not getting where it needs to be. Again, this motor is dry. It's probably gonna need a lot of oil. So I just put in the bare minimum of what it needs to run. So in fact, I'm gonna add a little bit more. because I need to put the blades on to test it, so I don't want to have to do this 20 times. So I'm going to add some into the oil port while moving the shaft, and I'm going to add some more on the shaft while it's moving. I'm going to try to push it back and forth, get it back up in there. That seems pretty good. I'm not going to do anything on the back just yet, because don't really need to. Oh no, my oil's dripping! Okay, well take something and wipe it. This is completely normal, and it's going to happen every single time you oil the shaft. So this is an alcohol wipe, by the way, if you're wondering. And then I'm also going to wipe above the oil port, just so it's not stupid looking. And I'm going to tip the motor back a little bit, wiggle the shaft around just for gravity to get back up in there. Make sure the back is not dripping. Also check the back with like a flashlight. You should see, it should look wet. It should look like water's been on it or something. Like, it should look wet. If it looks dry, then you need to add oil or more oil. And this feels pretty good. So now this is where it matters. Now we're going to put the blades on there, and with a small load, we should see, hopefully, a difference. Now, this is not the final, because I have to keep testing this fan throughout the week, because as the motor gets warmer, as the oil finds its way around the motor, we need to make sure that the oil problems don't come back. So it's important for me to note that this is not the final ending of this fan. You know, maybe in 5 days, it might lose its spin down and it might go back to doing the stuff again. We don't know. There's really no way to know. But considering I did a really heavy procedure on this motor, honestly, I don't expect anything coming back. Now, the /M, which is the brown one, that's going to need to be maybe put together tomorrow. Because that motor and the wicks in there are pretty beat up. So, but this fan here seems pretty good, so. Let me get the blades on there. Alright, well, my blades are on there. So now, here's the official test. I don't really have, actually, I'm just kidding. I believe the first footage was this fan running. So, if you've seen the intro, then you should know that this fan was in need of help. Anyway, the cord. Here is high. Oh, that fired right up. Alright, a lot better. Medium. This looks pretty good. This is promising. This is promising. Low. Okay. This fan has a really soft low speed. That sounds pretty good though. Oh my god, I might have fixed it. Dude, I think I fixed it. For now, we don't know. In 5 days it could go back to hell on earth, but for now, this looks pretty good. This is promising. This fan never sounded like this before. It was always, you know, trudging on its last step. But this thing is running strong now. Wow. This is a difference. I know it seems like, who cares? It's a fan. But it's like, ever since I had it, it ran so slow and like trash. And now it's running like it should. It's like a new fan. I mean, honestly, I shouldn't really be surprised in my own work. I mean, I've been doing this stuff for years, but wow. That is a step up, for real. Alright, let's kick it on high and turn it off, and we gotta see that spin down. Because that's where it didn't really shine last time. Okay, our spin down was a whopping 8 seconds last time. That's pretty good. Hey, look at that. That's pretty good. That's a hell of a lot more than 8 seconds, I'll tell you right now. Holy crap, it's still going. This is insane. This fan is so happy. I can feel, like, I know it's just a stupid fan, but it's like when a fan runs so poorly, as you saw in the beginning, and then it runs so strong now, it's like you can feel the difference, even just with the fan. Like, you can feel that difference. Like, this is definitely a positive reaction from the fan, you know. This is really cool. This is so satisfying. This fan was struggling for so long, and now it's not. So what I'm going to do now is start up these fans on low. And here is the difference. So let's find out which fan is better. P-223 that's been repaired, or the flawless K-223 3rd gen. Who's going to win? Let's find out. Here is low. We got a faster startup on here. They're both taking a while to get up to speed. Kind of. I'm hearing that P-223 a lot more. This one's spinning slower. This one's blowing a little bit more air. Granted, I think the K-223 3rd gen needs oil, but whatever. Alright, let's put them up to high. That's pretty good. It's a close battle right there. K-223 3rd gen screaming. Now let's see those spin downs. Ooh. K-223 3rd gen was pretty good. That spin down is a lot better than the P-223 when it had the problems. But the P-223 just got repaired, and look at that spin down. Holy crap. Look at it, it's still going. Wouldn't that be ironic if the P-223 just somehow, like, inadvertently had the longest spin down in my collection after going years with having actually the worst spin down in my collection? And I mean that for real. Like, this fan had the worst spin down. It would average like 6 or 7 seconds. I get some other fans that are going like, 20 plus seconds. So, and the longest fan would be like 30 plus seconds or more. So, I don't know. P-223 is holding up pretty good. That's a good spin down. Alright, so the fan's been running for about an hour. Let's see how it is. I don't smell anything. The motor's not leaking oil. The sound's about the same. I got temperature tester here, so let's turn it off. See that spin down? Now the motor got hot, so this has a chance to have, if anything's gonna change, this would be why. That's still pretty good. That's a lot better than it was. I don't know if it was the exact length as it was. Oh, the hub's pretty hot. Still feels pretty loose though. But remember, it might need more oil eventually, so See, now it's a little bit longer. That is weird. I mean, if this procedure doesn't work or something else, which obviously I'm not trying to say that, because obviously it's running a lot better, but I'm just saying it's like, if a few days comes by and this fails, like, I don't have a backup option. Does that make sense? So this about hits 102, and I said, oh, how do you know that's accurate? Well, I know because I've used it before and it makes sense. And each fan has a different result. But they're all around that 120 range. That's usually the average. So that's how I know that temperature tester does in fact work. And it's not just bogus. Alright, so I guess we'll just move on to day 4. Welcome to day 4. So, here's, as far as the slash M goes, I'm going to only do the rear plate, not going to do the front, because the front, versus looking at the wicks from the inside, that is a lot darker, whereas the ones on the front plate look a little bit brighter. And last time I did whatever, I didn't really pull out that much. So I think doing another washing on the front plate is probably unnecessary, but whatever. So I'm going to do it again on this plate. So here's just what I did. I'm going to record this process just because if you're wondering, like, well, he's making a video fixing something and then he doesn't even show how he fixed it. Well, that's why I'm recording this part. I figured I'd save this for day 4 because I'm going to do, you know, the best mix of everything, right? So what I did to start this off is I used 3-in-1 blue can. I put some of that in there because it does penetrate oil. Not as good as Marvel, but if I were to use Marvel and some of it was still present when I'm done, it would make the motor go dry, because when I go to oil it with the real fan oil, it would kind of kick out that oil because the Marvel is more penetrating than the fan oil. So I just put the 3-in-1 blue can in here, which if you don't know, that's the fan oil. And it'll penetrate some, so it'll do kind of like what Marvel does, but if anything's still present, it doesn't matter because that's the oil I'm using anyway. So I'm in this bathroom. This is the one with the hairdryer. The other bathroom is the one where I use the sink. I don't use the sink in here because, yeah, it's not really the cleanest, but the sink in the other room's better, so, yeah. So like I said, I just put some oil around on the wicks in there, and I'm gonna use the hairdryer. Using a tissue because I don't want to get oil on this because this is not mine. So what I do is I put it on the max heat. This one has 3 settings. So there's like medium heat or low heat, and then there's high heat. So I put it on the high heat option. I don't know every single hairdryer in existence. Yours is probably the same or different. I don't know. Then I have 2 speeds, like a fan. We have low and just high. So, yeah. And I don't really use the high speed, I just use low. So high heat and low speed. And I'm just gonna put it on here until it's hot enough to the point where I touch it and it might burn my hand. And I want it to be like that because it needs to be hot enough to make everything, you know, it needs to make everything loose again. So now I'm gonna get someone that's like, how are you gonna hold it and then blow it with a hairdryer and not get burned? Hold it better? I don't know. I'm gonna hold it like this. I know you're barely touching it. Yeah, that's all you need to do, really. Just gonna hold it like this. Hairdryer, I'm gonna use it at an angle away from my hand so I don't, you know, burn my thumb. And the heat will still get around where it needs to be. And then that's it. I will stop using the hairdryer once my fingers over here start to get hot. Okay, well, now we're in the other bathroom. Yeah. So while the motor's still hot, I should not even be sitting here talking. I'm gonna take the Dawn. This is optional. I usually start with hot water, but in this case, I'm gonna do Dawn, then hot water. So I'm actually gonna get the hot water going. And when I mean hot water, I mean like the water is so hot that it'll burn your hand. I'm just gonna go in circles. You're gonna ruin the motor. This is not my first rodeo. Okay, the sink is starting to get hot, so let's put this plate underneath. And I'm just gonna hold it there until I see some of the colors start to disappear. I'm gonna turn the cold on a little bit. Probably wondering, oh my god, it's gonna rust. If you've not been watching the video, I just finished the other fan. And by the way, a quick update on that, P-223, as of right now, the next day later, it's still pretty much perfect. So, if you do what I'm doing correctly, you won't have any problems. So, whatever. Now, if you're wondering, how do you know if there's any soap left? You can take your thumb or fingernail, you can kind of squish it inside the wicks, and then rub your fingers together. If you see soap bubbles forming, then there's still some presence of soap. If you did what I just did, you're not going to have that problem. Now, I only rinse this underneath the water for about 4 minutes. If you do that and you kind of lightly scrub the inside with, the tip of your finger, you might be okay. Oh, what was the point in all of that? Well, look at now. I mean, it's hard to tell on camera, but see, you can see it's a lot lighter colored. It's not as dark brown as you saw in the beginning. And underneath light, it's a little... we don't have enough light in here, but the wicks are a lighter color, which means there is less trash in them. So anyway, back to the procedure. So right now, all I'm doing is taking a tissue and just wiping all these droplets off. And then we're going to get to the drying process. Alright, so all I'm going to do now is just take the hairdryer. Same thing, high heat, low speed or whatever. And I'm going to blast this. You don't want to see any water left. No water drops, nowhere. Not even on the outside with the paint. You want nothing. No water. And make sure you get the inside pretty good. That's it. Then I'm going to move on to the next part, which you're still going to need the hairdryer. So, yeah. Alright, this next part is not required, but it's pretty much the icing on the cake. So basically, if I want to pull more oil out, or more junk out, anything, more water, well, there shouldn't be any water, but whatever. I'm going to take a tissue, and I'm just going to put it inside of the wicks. Like, yo, you're going to ruin the bearing. No one cares. That's not going to happen anyway. I'm going to take this, fold this inward, and I'm going to press inside. Get it all nice up in there. I'm going to leave it like this. What happens is the tissue will absorb liquid and it'll start pulling things out of the wicks. This clears out the motor and can help do whatever. Now, what you can also do is you can leave that tissue in there, take the hairdryer, re-blast the motor, except you can blast it from the front end, this center, and you can still heat up the oil and you can keep pushing out whatever you want for as long as you want. So that's what I'm going to do now. After blasting that for a little while, which when I was blasting it, I was just holding it from the tissue. So that way the weight of the plate will keep the tissue nice where it is. Be careful touching this. This can be burning hot. Depends on your pain sensitivity for heat. But, which I'm sure we're all about the same. So, it's pretty hot to touch and it hurts, but whatever. I have an alcohol wipe here. What I'm going to do is, while the bearing's still hot, sometimes oil can get dried to the bearing. And that's why if you do the hairdryer, you might see the inside start to get wet or shiny looking. Like, what is that coming from? I didn't even add water yet. Well, what that is it's oil that dried against the metal, and it's like that. And then you don't even know it's there because it's just a thin layer of oil. When you heat it up, it starts to get shiny because it's getting reactivated. So I'm going to pull out my tissue, and here's the result. Now, the colors from this are important, and they will tell you basically what's inside. Based on the color, it'll tell you what is still present and what's going on. As far as the alcohol wipe goes, I'm just twisting and pushing through. This will help get rid of that oil that I mentioned. And you see when you get it on the end, it's collecting some of that junk. So this is what was inside the bearing. With the remaining part that might be clean, I'm just gonna get the edges of the wicks here. Okay, back to the color of this. A few things to note here. I put Marvel in here twice on like day 1 or whatever. So anything in that, like the red color spectrum, like pink, peach, anything in that realm is gonna be Marvel. Anything that's bad oil is gonna be like dark-ish colors. So I'm getting like a dark peach, almost brown kind of color. Keep in mind, I just put 3-in-1 in here before doing all this, so a lot of that can be from the 3-in-1 pulling out more oil. But at the end of the day, this is the end result. Let me just reframe that whatever you think this method is good, bad, I don't really care. I've so far gotten the best result on this day, and I'm glad I got it on camera, because the entire week, this was like pitch black in here. And now I can start to see some colors, which means I finally started pulling out some stuff. So, yeah. And the first day I did this, I mean, it was like dark brown. So, now technically with this procedure, you only really need to do it once. I'm kind of taking it overkill by doing it multiple times. But keep in mind, these fans have been having this problem for years on end. I'd rather just do it multiple times. And even this one, the /M, I mean, this had a lot of trash in there. It depends on how much bad oil there is, how thick it is, gummy, whatever. You might do this multiple times and it might get better and better and better until it's finally clean. But you don't want to do it too much because you don't want to damage or dry out your wicks. So that's why, you know, because I'm going to get people like, oh, well, the hairdryer will dry out the wicks and ruin them and blah, blah, blah. I've done this procedure 5 times now and I've yet to see any side effects. Just saying. Just saying. So complain if you want in the comments, that is fine, but I'm just letting you know I've done this 5 times without any side effects with all different motors. Different fans have done it with Macmillan's, done it with a Westinghouse, you know, those plastic motors with Lasco and whatever. I've done it with those. I've yet to have a failure. Before you say anything about rust, like, oh, what's all that rust in there? That was already in there when I got the fan. So, like I said, that is the procedure. Do it if you want, whatever, but try at your own risk. If you do those steps incorrectly, you don't dry it enough, do something else, you will have parts that get rusted and you will have problems. So it's better to overdo everything, like the hairdryer. I mean, I was in there for like 15 plus minutes with the hairdryer. No, that's a long time, that's a lot of electricity. Yeah, but am I gonna not do it enough and then have the plates rust? No, if I feel like I need to do it longer or I want to be sure that it's not going to rust, then I'm just going to take my time. So if you're not a careful person and you feel like this was too hard for you or this procedure is too much, then probably don't attempt it because you're going to mess something up. And I'm not going to be responsible if you mess up your bearings. Just saying. That's enough of dealing with the idiots in the comments. Now we can get to putting the fan back together. Alright, so I'm not going to keep 100% of this footage because you just saw me put together the P-223 motor, but I'm still going to record most of it in case I, you know, whatever. You can see the image on the stator, so definitely at some point this rotor has collided with the stator more than just once, but whatever. Anyway, so I'm going to start with my back plate onto the braces. Okay, the rear plate is now in there, all the screws nice and tight. Don't forget to put your thrust and fiber washers in. So, just a little quick thing. Alright, so now we have the rear parts of the motor nice and oiled and placed. Now I'm going to quickly do this front plate on camera since it's pretty easy and straightforward. Again, just like the rear, I'm going to take some oil, go in a small circle all the way around. And put a little bit in the bearing. Then I'm going to take this and line the shaft all nice. Put some against the thrust washer since the thrust washer will be against the front bearing the most. I'm going to put it on corresponding with the holes, and make sure the oil ports face the same direction. In this motor's case, the oil ports go this way, so on the front and back, make sure that they match. This one's a tight fit. Some shafts are slightly tapered at the end for that reason. I don't know why. Now, before I go ahead and squish this together, I'm going to take a bolt and feed it through. Make sure that I can feed it through all the way. Yep. And there you go. Now I'm going to take my hands and I'm just going to carefully squish that motor all nice and together. Make sure the bolts are loose and they have a little bit of wiggle room. Wipe it all down nicely. Because if I have to go spin the shaft, I don't want to get my fingers all oily. Look how nice that is. Okay, for this part I'm going to need pliers, a wrench, and the 2 nuts that come with the fan. I'm going to take a nut and hold the bolt down just as I did with the P-223. Lightly finger tight is good. You just need a somewhat good basis, and make sure that you tighten them the same both times. Okay, now we're going to take the pliers, go into the front, and grip on to one of the front ends of the bolts. I'm going to take the wrench and do a small turn. I'm going to move to the top. This is important. If you tighten one and then the other, you're going to have misalignment, and then nothing will happen. It won't spin. I'm going to take this, do a similar rotation. Now this bolt feels a little bit tighter, so I might need to do a longer rotation on this one to match that tightness, which is about there. You just want to line up how tight they are. Do not make the motor too tight, or again, it won't work as well and you're going to have a bad time. So that's about as much tension as I'm putting there. It feels pretty good, so I'm going to put it back where I had it. Take this. You can always mess with the tension later if you need to. Now I'm going to take my wrench or another heavier tool. I'm going to tap on the shaft just so it aligns with the bearings. Alright, that is all done. So now I'm going to do a quick test run, so that way if there's anything I might need to fix, I can do it before I put the blades on and get comfy. Okay, pretty good. The shaft spin down is not all too great. Some fans react differently where they need time to have the oil go around, so I don't really know what to expect from this one. The outcome of this procedure depends greatly on the condition. I've done this again like 5 times now, and this fan particularly has had the worst condition for oil. I mean, whatever was in there, even after rinsing it out 3 times, still seemed to be present. Now, even though the shaft spin down might not have been that great, but look at the spin down now. I mean, compared to what it was in the beginning, which I don't have a before clip, but I'm going to pull up a clip from somewhere else on the channel.
So yeah, this is a weird motor. This is actually, most Macmillans are 2.4, and then others are 1.7. This is 2.1. Look at Edison blades are moving.
I mean, now that you've seen that spin down, look at this. This is just me touching it. I mean, that's a lot better. That is a lot better. And it might even just get better from here until the oil gets all the way around. You know? Make sure that oil isn't dripping. So now that we've done that, let me just make sure there's no tissues that are going to fly away randomly. Now that we've done that, we can kind of just test it now. So here's high. There you go. Almost tipping over. I have a fan foot. Medium. I mean, tell me that's not better from what you just saw. This fan is definitely a happy fan. And the motor itself too looks a lot better. A lot cleaner. I got all the weird stains off that were on the back. I mean, that's a lot better, dude. I'm just gonna keep it faced this way because I know the wind noise is probably annoying. It's a slow pickup from low to medium, but that's just the motor. With high. That sounds a lot better than before. See the spin down? Now, is the spin down that great? No. But you know what? That's almost as twice as the length of as it was the first time. And like I said, this was the worst conditioned one. What do you expect, right? I mean, that's a lot better already. And I might even just wait till the oil gets the way around the motor. And then it might even go faster or longer. We don't know. You know? Alright, so this clip here might be used in 2 different videos. I may or may not put it with the /M and the P-223 video. And I'm gonna probably put it with the Lasco's video as well. So, anyways, both of these fans were recently worked on with the whatever, right? And now that you've seen both of them and whatever being put together, I was gonna run them for an hour, like I said. So an hour just went by. I have not turned them off yet. It's still running. So I'm gonna turn them off now, and we're gonna see the spin down on both. So if you came from this fan's video, then I guess look at that. If you came from this fan's video, then look at this one. Whatever. Actually, maybe I'll just do one at a time. Start with Lasco. Actually, no, this one's the shorter spin down. Okay, that's not too bad. Yeah, that's pretty good. Little bit of an abrupt stop, but remember, this fan had the worst conditioned one. Let's look at this back here. I can't tell if that oil is dark or if that's just... I mean, it's not dripping out of the motor, so that's probably a good start. Let's take a look at that one in a minute. Lasco's turn. Which, if you're from this video and you haven't been paying attention, this fan was just worked on today. This is day 5 for the /M. So, and then for the Lasco, it's just for its own video. That spin down was wicked long, dude. Oh, you know what? I should temperature test. Crap. I didn't think to do that. I don't know what that was. That wasn't a fan though, I can tell you that. Yeah, temperature testing. All right, so I turned the LASCO back on, which it's over here, so it's not gonna affect anything over here. I'm getting a 99. It went up to 100, now it's starting to drop. So I guess this got 100 degrees, which is, I think, the lowest out of any fan I've ever recorded. So I think the regular P-223 was just 102. I looked at the oil. Let me get a zoom in on that. It looks kind of darkish. I don't know if I said it, but before I ran this for an hour, or no, actually I turned the fan on and then I put some oil in the back shaft. So I got a tissue. Let's find out what color this is, because that might mean there's still trash oil in there, and I can already tell you there is. Oh yeah, that's not good. That 3-in-1 is like a very, very light yellow color. Not this brown trash. So there definitely is some still bad oil present. So this one might still need to be looked at. But that's why we're doing this, right? That's why we're testing it. So, I might even do the LASCO too. So let me save that other end. Lol. Put the tissue here without ruining something. Alright, now let's do the other one. It's gonna take an hour for that to spin down. Here, let me put this here. Unplug, always unplug them before you do this, since this has a metal tip. We're gonna move it over here. Okay. Let us throw. Let's see. Let's pick a good winding. It's hard to see, there's not enough light. I usually do it so with gravity this will lean against a winding. I always try to go for the top winding, but I don't know if I have enough room for that. There's a small little gap between the fuse housing and the winding. I wonder if I can fish it in there. Nope. Yeah, 112. I'm gonna say 112. That's barely getting there. Yeah, let's just run at 112. Perfect. I mean, so far, I mean, spin down's pretty good. I mean, LASCO was just bragging, and this fan, not so much. But you know what? That's still a really good. I mean, look at that compared to what it was before, compared to the clip that I put in the video earlier, right? Almost lined him up at the perfect time. Like, see, that was not bad, right? So I think it's just me. I think I'm expecting a spin down like this, but every fan is different, right? You have a different motor, right? You have a different blade load. I mean, it's a different situation, and also shaft size matters as well. This fan has a really short shaft, and this one has a longer one. And I noticed fans with the longer shaft tend to have a shorter spin down for some reason. I don't know why. It sounds completely ridiculous, like I made it up, but it's not. But I don't know. I think it's just me over expecting a better outcome, but in reality, this is probably as good as it's gonna get. I washed out that motor pretty good. You can't tell me I didn't, right? So if anything else happens, I'll make an update, either an update video or a community post, something. But or short, something on my channel, you'll find it. So, and if you don't see anything, or maybe just a week or two, I'll post a follow-up like, hey, 2 weeks went by, fan's still okay. You know, I don't know. All right, it has been a week since day 4, so now it's like, I don't even know. But, so 1 week went by, I was recording some other videos and doing some other stuff, so there's, I have an army of fans up here. So I have not actually checked on the P-223 or the /M just yet. They've been one over there and the other one in the closet. They've just been sitting there all week. I haven't been paying attention to them. The LASCO also got worked on. Is another video. I had the same procedure done, so I will be looking for that one as well. So in a week, let's see what happened. I'll turn this fan on and then the super electric just to compare. Super electric's been having a bit of like a hindered spin down. This fan has a really good spin down, so I'm like, I'll just benchmark a bunch of fans. So let's find out. So I'm gonna do like a speed up spin down type of thing. I'm on a thing that's not turned on. We're gonna just do low, because if I do high, I'm gonna blow the breaker. So high, medium, low, and then also I don't want fans tipping over, so I can't stop this. So to reframe, obviously this is the video, and then super electric, again, just kind of a comparison. This fan has a pretty good spin down, and the last go also had a really good spin down, so I'd like to see if that one changed at all. And yeah, I'm not expecting any changes because I haven't touched the fans, but the super cool startup sound is from this fan, if you're wondering. Oh yeah, welcome the Golden Toastmaster. You guys have not seen this fan in a while. Say hello to the fan for this week. Okay, sounds pretty reasonable. It's a little slow, a little sluggish. That's concerning. Lasco's looking pretty good. Slash M's looking. This fan's looking a little sluggish. Okay, this is a little worrying. I can't tell because this fan's the quietest one naturally, so it's hard to say. I'll give it a few more seconds just to let them all warm up. And this is rattling, so it's got to be doing something if it's rattling. I think here and there throughout the week I would spin the blades with my finger and they seem pretty good, so I don't know if anything should happen. See, someone's getting faster. I can hear it. It's this fan, I think. Maybe the super electric. Maybe the Lasco? I could have sworn it sounds a little bit louder now. It's not this fan. Not that one. That one's been running overnight. Alright, let's turn them all off and let's see what happens. Another thing to think about is they're all plugged into the same surge protector. So they're all drawing a little bit of too much power. So these fans are not running at their actual low speed. See, now that one's kind of slow. But it outlasted. Okay. This is really interesting. I'm going to talk about this for a second when these two are finished. Oh, Lasco. Holy crap. Bow down to the king. Holy crap. Hey, look at, it's flexing, dude. Did you see that? I literally said that. The fan, like, heard me. Wow. Okay, that's impressive. Okay. I don't think anything has changed. I think what... See, this is an illusionary effect because these two fans... They would look like they would have a longer spin down because they're beefier, but that's not true. So... I was kind of lying. I think I remember now. I think I tested this earlier in the week off camera. I compared these two fans with the K-223 3rd Gen, which is now in the basement. But when I tested these two fans, the Slash M would stop, and then not long after, this fan would stop. And it looks like that exact same thing happened. The reason why their spin downs look so slow is because these two fans are kings, and they dominated with longer spin down. It's just whatever. That's why I put in the super electric, because the super electric kind of has an spin down. But the spin down was about as good as the Slash M. So I can't really say much, but you have to remember the Slash M and the P-223 came from a background where their spin down was like 8 seconds. So from 8 seconds to tying with the super electric, I think that's respectable. But yeah, that's not too bad. It definitely slowed down really fast, but then it kind of kept going. So, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to eliminate these 2 fans. I just want to use these 3 because that's it. I don't want to record this for too much because I don't know if I said this. I don't think I did. I'm in the middle of editing this video. There is currently over 2 hours of footage. So, I don't know how long it's going to be, but it's going to be insane. So, I'd like to not record this for an hour. So, here's on. Whoa. What was that startup sound? Did the camera pick that up? I hope it did. I thought one of these fans turned on. Well, that was weird. None of these fans have a startup sound. That was kind of weird. Super Electric's the loudest. I think this is about the same as it was in the video, right? That's why I'm doing this now, because I was in the middle of editing, so I can see this how this was fresh off my mind. Yeah, nothing's leaking, right? I should look at that. This fan's the one that leaks. Nothing. Alright, guess we'll just kick it off. So it should go these 2 about the same, and then it should be this one last. Yeah, I don't think it's bad. Yeah, see? I think it's an illusionary effect. The spin down looks good on its own, but when you compare it to a fan that has a longer spin down, but it's got bigger motor, bigger blades, you know. And this fan gets away with it because the shaft of that motor is literally this big. So it kind of gets away with that easier. Are they dry, I wonder? Oh, yeah. So, yeah. Another thing is they probably drink up the oil, and they could probably use a little bit more. Their spin down would probably be a little bit better. But I think for now the verdict is they're okay. I mean, 1 week went by. So on Sunday I'll take them downstairs when whatever, and then, yeah. So I guess if you guys enjoyed this video, I'll see you guys in the next one.